Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Aging Games. Today, we have a special treat for you, something very, very sweet. We're going to talk about sugar fasting. And if you've been following this channel for a while, you'll know that I've talked about every kind of fasting under the sun, literally everything, but never heard about sugar fasting. So, my good friend Maili is back. Welcome, Maili.
Hi, thank you.
And she's going to talk to us all about sugar fasting because she has been trying this new type of fast. Miley, I'm a little bit skeptical, I have to be honest with you. You know, coming from the carnivore and the keto community where we avoid sugar like the plague, right? And
Exactly.
now I see this everywhere. This thing is trending like crazy and people are losing weight on sugar. So tell us more, please.
Okay. Well, first, I have to say that I'm with you. When this was introduced to me, my immediate reaction was, no, I'm not
Mhm.
going to do this. But I got past my knee-jerk reaction and I actually started looking into a little bit more of the science of it, which I won't get into because I'm still learning and I can't properly explain it. But there is some really, really interesting science. And
Okay.
there's some really smart people who can tell everybody all about it. So maybe you can put that in your notes.
I've seen
Um,
that. Andreas, for example, right? On Instagram, we've seen him talk about it a lot.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, and he's coaching you
Um,
as well.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And he's the one who suggested it. And
Okay.
honestly, the only reason I even considered this was because it was him and I trust
Hmm.
him. What it is, it's basically taking old ideas and it's put it together into this quote unquote fast.
Uh-huh.
It's being popularized by Mark Smelly Bell. That's the name he goes by. Mark
Hmm.
Smelly Bell and Cole Robinson. Those were the first two people who I heard start to talk about this. And it's basically, well, there's kind of two parts to it. I first heard about it as the sugar diet.
Hmm.
And that is based off of a diet that was created by someone who's called Anabology on YouTube. I don't know his real name, but
Hmm.
his YouTube is Anabology.
Okay.
And he created a diet where he would eat honey and a little bit of fruit for breakfast and lunch. And then for dinner, he would have lean protein and a starch.
Hmm.
And he lost a tremendous amount of weight doing this. So Cole Robinson, Mark Bell, they started talking about the sugar diet. So basically eating fruit, honey, maple syrup, and even candy and soda and the processed
No
sugars,
way. Wow.
which I will tell you right now, I will never get on board with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean,
Spoiler
okay,
alert.
fruit, honey, maple syrup, okay, those are natural, but I mean to be into eating candy and cakes and stuff like that, I can't imagine. But even with eating cakes and candies, they were losing weight.
So not cakes. That's
Okay,
the other part of this is
so
that
candies.
it is only simple sugar,
Okay,
no protein, no fat.
okay.
So in the beginning of this sugar diet, it was taking the idea of Anabology's honey diet and incorporating these other sugars in, where you would eat simple sugars for breakfast and lunch, and then followed up with a dinner of lean protein. And you may or may not include a starch. Then they refined it and started talking about sugar fasting. And so that is where you eliminate that lean protein and starch for dinner and you just consume fruit juice, honey, maple syrup, so natural sugars, but then they're saying that you can also include these processed candies and sodas and things like that. And the idea is that this is ramping up people's metabolisms. And so they're able to not only eat massive amounts of carbs, but bring their calories up too without gaining weight and actually lose significant amounts of weight. Sounds crazy, but
Sounds
like I
crazy. I
said,
mean,
there
is
is
it only
some
men or are women actually losing weight on this as well?
there are men and women. I
And
will
women.
say, from what I've seen so far, just people doing their own experiments, I have been seeing that it's, as always, easier for the men.
Yeah.
Men are dropping weight like it's just melting off of them. I've heard of people losing 10 pounds in 10 days, that kind of quick. And this is not, it
Insane.
doesn't seem to be water and it does not seem to be muscle loss. So apparently, consuming carbohydrates in large quantities with very low protein and very low fat is protein sparing, so muscle
Yeah.
sparing.
Yeah.
Um, so it looks to be at this point that it's mostly body fat that people are losing. So I decided, okay, I'm going to try this. And
Okay, tell
I
us
am
about your
coming from
experiment.
doing an experiment and short term, I personally cannot see this as a healthy lifestyle. It
Mhm.
just it doesn't make sense to me to completely exclude protein and fat.
Mhm.
I have been low carb now for over 12 years. I've been keto, I've been ketovore, I've been carnivore.
Yeah, we
I
have the
have
same
not
story.
eaten, yes. I haven't eaten over, I would say the max 100 grams of carbs. And that's, those
A
were high
lot.
carb days.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten more than 100 grams of carbs in over 12 years.
So
This
when
is
somebody comes to you and says, "Okay, let's get you on the sugar fast," like what do you say? What what was your first reaction?
like, this is insane. Like, whoa, what are you talking about? Sugar, it contributes to cancer and all these, all kinds of health illnesses and symptoms and diabetes and Alzheimer's. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? I can't eat all sugar. But the more I looked into it and the more I opened my mind, I have started to see that taking an approach like this, where you are excluding the fats, you're excluding the proteins, there are different mechanisms that are triggered in the body.
Mhm.
So I just thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. And nothing, it's not going to kill me to do this for a few weeks.
Yeah. So
It was kind
basically
of the same,
it's like an extreme elimination diet.
yes, except going in the opposite direction of what we've been used to.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
I mean, honestly, I thought carnivore was crazy too.
Yeah.
And I used that as an elimination diet
Yeah.
initially. And I experienced tremendous benefit from going carnivore.
Yeah.
And so I never want to get so stuck in diet dogma and so stuck in making diet an identity that I completely push away something that's maybe a little bit different and maybe seems a little crazy, because then I worry that I'm limiting myself from maybe some potential healing.
Yeah.
And so I have been doing this now. I think we're going into my third week of alternating sugar fasting days.
So you do one day sugar fasting and then the other day you're eating basically high protein, low carb like normal.
It's a little bit altered. I'm
Okay.
eating more moderate protein and I'm actually keeping the fats lower.
Okay.
And so once I'm finished with this experiment, I will go back into normal eating, normal
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
normal summer eating. That's another thing.
Yeah.
I would not be trying this in the winter.
Hmm.
This to me
I
is
hear you.
a summer only experiment, especially trying to live closer to nature and
Yeah.
being aligned with my circadian rhythms. I want to make sure that I am also experimenting in line with the seasons.
Absolutely.
So it's a
Sorry,
summer
just
only.
let's elaborate on that just a little bit for people who don't understand why we're saying that you would only do this in summer. I mean, obviously from a circadian health point of view, you would only be eating fruit that is grown in season locally, correct?
Right. And with this experiment, I have been including fruits that are not local to me because I am eating so much fruit. And the only fruits that are available to me right now, I think, are peaches and nectarines, some of the berries.
Yeah.
I'd have to eat pounds and pounds to
Yeah.
get enough calories just from those fruits.
Yeah.
So I have made an exception. I am including some tropical fruits, so pineapple, banana. However, I am also spending, as you can see, I'm outside right now.
Hmm.
I am spending probably 80 to 90% of my time outdoors. I am grounding
Yeah.
and I am in the sun tanning like it's my second job.
I love it. I love it. And you look amazing. I mean, you're
Oh,
glowing, you look healthy, you look fantastic. So you are 3 weeks in. Are you
3 weeks
hungry?
in. I am not hungry. I
Not
am
hungry
not
at
hungry.
all.
I mean, I have a normal appetite. I'm eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I'm trying not to snack.
So let's
Um,
go through your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What are you eating?
sure.
And how many calories are you eating?
So I'm trying the best that I can to track just out of, for curiosity's sake and
Hmm.
because this is an experiment. Some of the people who are promoting this diet,
Hmm.
they're encouraging people not to track, but for the sake of an experiment, I like to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I am also a creature of habit. I tend to eat the same things and
I'm
repeat.
like that.
So it makes it really easy, actually. I have been creating a smoothie in bulk, and then I put
Uh-huh.
it into containers and freeze it.
Yeah.
And that is consisting of acai berry, pineapple, banana, strawberry. I blend all of that up. I will add a little extra honey,
Hmm.
maybe some maple syrup, and then I put it into little containers. So it's, I guess, I'm meal prepping.
Hmm.
And then when I thaw it, I add several peaches because those are in season right now and they're amazing. So sometimes up to four peaches on top of, I would say, about a pint's worth of this smoothie concoction that I've pre-blended.
Yeah.
Then I will also add, I laugh because it's just so crazy to me still to even say it out loud. I have found jellies and jams that don't have added sugar,
Yeah.
and I will add jam on top of this smoothie bowl concoction. So it is sweet and it is huge. I'll throw in extra berries, whatever fruits that I have. And that is my breakfast, that's my lunch, and that's my dinner on quote unquote sugar fasting days.
And are you tracking your blood sugar? Your blood sugar must be
I
like spiking through the roof, no?
no,
It's
it's
not.
not. I'm telling you, all of these things are so shocking to me. So, and for the calories, I'm around, I would say between 15 and 18, maybe even 1900 calories with the amount
Wow.
of fruit. If
So
I'm
it's
adding,
probably
lots of
more than
extra,
what you're normally eating, right? Or is it close to what? Yeah, it's more. Yeah.
it's more. I mean, that's the upper end of my maintenance.
Yeah.
In a fat loss phase, which I was in while working with Andreas, my calories were down lower than what I even really feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And nothing was moving. I was not losing body fat. It was so minor. And with this, it's definitely moving, eating
Really?
higher calorie. So I am tracking my blood sugar. That was one of the reasons why I decided to try this was
Hmm.
because on low carb, I have for probably the past 8 months, I've been seeing my fasting blood sugar and postprandial, so 1 and 2 hours after meals, my blood sugar has been staying high. So in the morning, my fasting has been well over 100, sometimes 115,
Yeah.
waking up, and there can be different reasons for that.
Yeah.
But what was concerning me is that after low carb meals, my blood sugar wasn't coming back down under 100
Wow.
ever. So, again, it's like, well, we think, okay, if blood sugar is high, then we should lower carbs more.
Yes.
But I've been there. I've done that. I've
Yeah.
gone back to carnivore, and actually, my blood sugar's gone even higher than that, especially when I start raising the protein.
Yeah.
So, shockingly, my blood sugar has been around 90 waking up. So, fasting is 90.
Yeah.
And then the highest I've seen it spike in this whole experiment, I think the highest was 145, which, that's high for
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
I've only seen that one time. It's usually about 115, 120 is the highest. And this is with honey, fruit, maple syrup, all of these things. Within 2 hours, I'm actually down under 90. I'm usually in the 80s.
That's absolutely remarkable. And it goes against everything that we've been taught, right? It just
Everything.
my mind is absolutely blown. So
Yes.
in 3 weeks, how much weight have you lost?
About 5 pounds.
That's really
So
good.
I,
Because I mean
I say
you're
about.
slim already. And so yeah, I totally that's a lot of weight.
And I don't have a lot to lose. I mean, to be truthful, this is more vanity weight that I've been trying to shed for the
Yeah.
past couple of years. I am at a healthy weight,
Hmm.
so I expect that this is going to be a little bit slower. But 5 pounds, I mean,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean,
that
I
was a
can
lot.
go on a 3 week water fast and not lose 5 pounds. So that's it's true.
Yes,
So that's
and
really awesome.
I've heard
And
that from other
yeah.
people too,
Oh
that
yeah.
they water fasting, they're not losing, doing keto, carnivore, especially raising the protein, they're not losing. And so people are feeling stuck and
Yeah.
frustrated.
Yeah. Absolutely. How long are you planning to continue?
I'm kind of leaving it up in the air, but I will not go more than 2 months.
Hmm.
And there's some people who are doing this straight through. They're sugar fasting
Hmm.
every single day. I don't feel comfortable with that. I do think that it's important to break this up. And that is because of something called FGF 21, which I won't even go into because I can't
Yeah.
explain it properly. If people are interested, just go and look FGF 21 and sugar fasting. You'll find lots
Yeah.
of information. But it does seem to be part of the reason why people's metabolisms are ramping up so high.
Hmm.
But it also looks like you can become FGF 21 resistant at a certain
Resistant.
point because they
Yeah.
do see high levels of FGF21 in obese people.
Uh-huh.
So to avoid possible resistance, I am trying to break it up with the lean protein. I'm not doing a bunch of starch. I'm just
Hmm.
doing lean protein and then adding in, fats that I like.
And I guess you're also worried about muscle loss. So that's probably another reason to be doing the alternate days.
Yes. And I mean, really, with any fat loss strategy, there is always the risk of some
Yeah.
muscle loss. And so I am keeping up my strength training.
Yeah.
I walk a ton and I run a little. So my activity is high. That is another thing. The energy that I have is off the charts.
Really, I was gonna say you must be like exhausted, tired, just dragging yourself around, sleeping
It
all
is,
afternoon.
I mean,
No.
there's been points where it's almost too much energy and I have to go for a walk. It's,
Wow.
I'm glad I don't have caffeine because I think I would be stuck to the ceiling.
Oh my God, that's so, it's just absolute. Okay, how is your sleep?
That's another. I keep saying it, but I'm shocked by so many things with this. My sleep has been fantastic, and my sleep was good before with my
Yeah,
circadian practices.
yeah,
My sleep's been great for the past several years, but I would always wake up to have to go pee in the middle of the
uh-huh,
night.
yeah.
I don't wake up. I
Wow,
sleep like a rock. I dream. They're vivid dreams. I remember my dreams when I wake up in the morning. I feel refreshed and ready to start my day.
wow. And you're probably taking in a lot more liquids with the smoothies and with the fruit and everything than you normally are.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you still drinking water?
I am, but I'm not as thirsty. And that makes sense when you're taking
Yeah,
in so much
of
fruit.
course.
Um, but I'm making sure that I actually do drink water because so much sugar is coming in.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that I'm, helping my body to flush things out as well.
yeah, absolutely.
And then
And
one other
do you,
really surprising thing, sorry, I was just
no,
gonna,
no, go
before I
ahead.
forget,
Go ahead.
I have a very long history of debilitating gut issues, which
Mhm.
I did lots of
That was
healing
going to be
with.
my question. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, you nailed it.
So paleo, keto, carnivore, staying on these low carb diets, and then, of course, circadian practices, those things really helped me heal my gut.
Yeah,
And I was really afraid, like, oh my gosh, I've been kind of against fiber, if I'm being
yeah,
truthful,
yeah, me
because
too.
fiber has really messed me up.
Yeah,
So I was nervous about bringing in all of this fruit fiber. My gut has been perfect. It's
really.
insane. Actually, even better than when I'm low carb.
And with all, so you can eat and tolerate all kinds of fruit because I mean, I just don't do well with fructose, for example. So anything like, for example, apples, watermelon, it's like one bite and I'm bloated and gassy and I feel
And that was the same
horrible.
for me
That was the
before.
same for you. And now
Yeah,
you can tolerate all those fruits and you're fine with it.
I'm fine with it. There was a couple in the first few days, there was an adjustment period. It wasn't terrible, but it was kind of like, okay,
Mhm.
something's different here. And I think that, I didn't have the enzymes needed to break down those carbohydrates because
You haven't eaten them
if you
in
don't
so
if you
long.
don't use it, you lose
Yeah,
it. And so it can take
exactly.
a little bit to build those back up.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think I don't think that I would be experiencing these positive benefits forever though.
yeah,
I have a feeling that if I were to do this long term, that I would see symptoms start to come back. And that's just
yeah,
my guess, but
yeah. So, Miley, have you tried this with any of your clients? Have you recommended this to anyone?
no,
No,
not yet.
you're the guinea pig,
I
right?
Yes, I like to try things on myself before I recommend them.
Yeah,
Um, and to be honest, I don't think that this is going to be right for everybody. I
yeah.
don't think that anyone can try this. Actually, I had one old client, we've stayed friends. She decided to try it and it did not work for her.
What happened with her?
She could not get past that adjustment phase in the beginning.
Yeah.
She had terrible bloating, diarrhea, just it was not working. And so she stuck it out for a week and then
Mhm.
she
She
quit,
gave up.
which I was very happy about because
Yeah. Did she
I
did she
don't
still lose weight or she didn't lose weight because of the
she
bloating and
didn't
everything? She
know.
didn't. Hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting because I mean, I think with some people with like really bad blood sugar issues, it could be that their blood sugar spikes so badly that it just doesn't go down. I mean, we're all different, right? So obviously there
Mhm.
isn't a one size fits all, but I'm just so fascinated to see all these people that are doing this and using this new way of fasting, and they're actually getting good results. I'm seeing it everywhere, and I'm like, no, this can't be true. And when you told me that you're also doing it, and I saw it on Instagram, I was like, what? Okay, we got to talk about this.
I know. I was a little scared to put it out there
Yeah,
because I mean, people, and understandably so, there's certain people who are having these knee-jerk reactions without really looking into it. They're looking at the name,
yeah,
sugar diet, sugar fasting, and they're equating it to the standard American diet. They're
yeah,
thinking that this is high sugar with fat. And that's not the way that this is supposed to go. That's
yeah,
not the way that the sugar diet, the sugar fast is designed. Again, short term, a tool to use temporarily that brings fat very low or on sugar fasting days to zero and
very,
protein as close to zero as you can get. There is some protein in fruits, but
yeah, very low. Yeah. And did you get any slack on Instagram when you shared your story of what you're
surprisingly,
doing?
no. I
No.
think that most people are just curious at
Yeah.
this. It's I was fully prepared for some nasty comments.
Yeah.
And so far, I haven't gotten
Wow.
any.
That is super interesting. So if somebody wanted to get started with this and try it for themselves, is there like a preparation that you need to go through? Are there like days leading up to it? Like how you would prepare for like a normal fast or a water fast? Is there any kind of preparation that you need to do beforehand?
So I've been thinking about this a lot. I think it depends on where you're starting from.
Okay.
So if someone is starting from a standard American diet, I would encourage them to first eliminate processed foods and
Mm.
just go to a whole foods diet. Don't worry about the carbs, don't worry about your macros, just take away the processed stuff. And then experiment with this. And I would also have people start with the sugar, the quote unquote sugar diet, not jump right into the sugar fasting,
Yeah.
because then you're starting with one meal, maybe two meals of fruit and honey, natural sugars, but you're still having a somewhat normal dinner. If somebody is coming from very low carb, keto, carnivore, I would say proceed with extra caution because your body's not primed for digesting carbohydrates.
Yeah.
So, but if someone really wants to do it, then I would say start slowly. I would start with, maybe a handful of berries, kind of those lower glycemic index fruits,
Hmm.
and just see how your body responds and slowly work up from there. Slowly go into having a breakfast of just fruit and honey, and then maybe add in a lunch and then do your lean protein and possibly still a starch for dinner, maybe not the starch, and just kind of take it from there. Because I think that coming from such a low carb place, you could probably have some really negative symptoms. On that, on that token, I think that some of the negative symptoms, people will go, whoa, okay, this is not for me. I don't tolerate it.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you don't tolerate it in that moment because you haven't been eating it, just like we had to go through an adjustment period with keto. Our
Yeah.
bodies weren't adapted to metabolizing, absorbing, processing fats. So we had to
Exactly.
go through fat adaptation. Even when you're adding in more protein, there's often an adaptation. So, I think if someone's open-minded enough coming from low carb to
Yeah.
want to try this, that they'll probably be able to see, okay, yes, just like I adapted with the other things, I need to go through a process
An
to adapt to this as
adaptation.
well.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Miley, how much honey are you using?
I started off using more than I'm using now. So I was just kind of grabbing spoonfuls of honey and it tasted really good. And it was like,
Yeah.
wow, I haven't had this much honey in years. Um, but I'm finding that I don't really need it. I'm not that hungry. I feel like my appetite is pretty normal.
Hmm.
And that's a hard hitting sugar, as Mark Bell would
Yeah.
say, or Cole Robinson would say. It's very calorie dense. And so I think it can be easy to overdo.
I saw some
And
people are
then,
eating like a pound of honey a day on this.
well, that was the anabology guy.
Yeah.
He was doing a pound of honey. I mean, that's a lot of fructose. And I think that you're more likely to run into digestive issues if you are really pounding in the fructose because
Yeah.
we have, limited tolerance for being able to absorb and utilize fructose. So
Absolutely.
spacing it out, I think, is probably a better idea.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And do you have a preference for the type of honey that you use?
I use raw honey, local when possible.
Hmm.
I am becoming aware, though, that even local raw honey, even organic, can still be contaminated with glyphosate. And so my favorite honey is not local to me, but every single batch is tested for glyphosate. And so it's
Hmm.
glyphosate free. So I feel like, there's a little give and take.
Yeah,
Local would be my top choice if I could
yeah,
really find one that I trust.
yeah.
Um, and it's the same with sourcing fruits.
I was going to ask
I'm
if you
only
use organic fruit only or whatever you can
yes.
find, organic only.
And even beyond just, kind of the standard grocery store organic, I'm really trying to buy as much from my local farmers market so that I can talk to the farmers. Some of them are not certified organic, but they do not use any
Hmm.
pesticides. They don't use chemical fertilizers and all of those things. And then for the tropical fruits that I am using just for this experiment, I'm buying those from my little local health food store where I
Hmm.
know the people and
Yeah.
I really trust where they're sourcing. Because unfortunately, I think, well, I've heard recently that there are going to be things allowed in organic produce that I'm not comfortable with.
Hmm. That's
A
not good. That's
coating.
bad news. That's not
Yes.
good news at all. That's very unfortunate. Miley, do you think are there any people that should not try this? Like, okay, obviously pregnant women, right? We probably wouldn't recommend this for kids. Is there anyone else who should be careful with this? With health
Yeah. So
condition?
definitely pregnant women, kids, I think that a more balanced approach to macros is probably a better way to go. I personally, I know that there are people who are type 2 diabetic who are experimenting with this. And there have been doctors throughout history who have used glucose diets. I think there's is it Dr. Kempner who used the white rice diet and
Yeah.
he did reverse people's type 2 diabetes. So I know that these things are out there.
Hmm.
I would feel very uncomfortable. No, actually, I would not recommend it to a type 2 diabetic personally.
No, I can't imagine either, but
I just can't. I think that if I had a client who was type 2 diabetic and they were really set on trying this, I would have them work with their doctor.
yeah, yeah, I
I
agree.
think it's too tricky. I think that if anyone has any issues with their liver,
Hmm.
that's another time where I would say you need to work with a medical
Yeah,
professional
yeah.
because it's too risky. I think people who are underweight, this is
Hmm.
not a good strategy. I
Yeah,
think that people have found that they can lose too much weight
yeah.
doing this.
So anyone with eating disorders probably wouldn't be a good idea, right?
Right. Because it is very extreme. Now, I will say, because one of the things that has come up about this is the talk around sugar addiction.
Hmm.
And I do believe that there is food addiction. I believe that that exists. This is making me think about it a little bit differently, though, because when you separate the fat from
Hmm.
the carbohydrates, from these simple sugars, I am telling you, you get very, very tired of sweet very quickly.
How
After
interesting.
eating a bowl of fruit, I do not want to see fruit anymore. I do not want a cookie. I don't want cake. I don't want ice cream. And so I heard, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said, I challenge you to sit down with a bowl of refined sugar, just a bowl of cane sugar, and keep eating it and eating it and eating it. Most people can't do that. And so it did make me think about sugar addiction and food addiction. And is it really sugar addiction or is it sugar and fat together addiction? Because what are the things that we can't stop eating? It's the
Yeah,
donuts, it's the cakes, it's
yeah.
ice cream,
The
it's the
sugar,
sugar
fat,
and the fat together.
and the carbs, the whole combination of the three
Yes, the
together.
starches too.
Yeah,
Putting starch and fat together, I mean, that's what
absolutely.
makes it taste so good.
No, it's true. I mean, even if you sat down to like eat honey, how much honey can you eat, right? It would make you
Oh, I
sick.
mean,
But if you
yeah,
have, have a nice cake in front of you, you could finish the whole cake and then a tub of ice cream, and you can just keep going with all that. So that makes a lot of sense. I never actually thought of it that way.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, I I'm sure that there probably are people out there who could sit and eat a bowl of just, refined cane
Yeah.
sugar and could
Yeah.
eat fruit without having that turn off switch. In fact, Andreas and his wife Tina,
Hmm.
they did a podcast on the sugar diet and their experience because they tried it. And Tina was mentioning that she's one of those people that doesn't have that off switch. She can just keep eating the fruit and
Wow.
So,
Interesting. Well,
but
because they say
it
that
was,
they say the trick with fructose, and that's why fruit is designed that way, fructose, so that you continue eating, so that you're eating the seeds of the fruit and then pooping it out, and then this is how they reproduce, right? So it makes sense that fructose is actually, they say it's even more addictive than just table sugar. So you do have to be careful, but it's really
yeah,
interesting that. So I guess for someone like Tina, she would have to regulate how much she's eating, not just go by how much she's craving, right? She would have to pay
right.
attention to that. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
And they did also note some of the negative side effects.
so let's talk
So,
about that.
yeah. Well, so far I haven't really experienced any,
Uh-huh.
but like I said, I don't know that you know, the negative side effects wouldn't start to appear if I were to continue to do this long term, which
Yeah,
I won't do. But I think some of the negatives can be, that you don't have that off switch, that you can just keep eating and eating and eating. There is the potential for nutrient deficiency. Absolutely. There's the potential for muscle loss at a certain point. Um, it's not, I hate to say well balanced because I know that people accuse low carb people of not having a balanced diet. I don't agree with that, but
yeah.
um, but I think, eating a diet that is devoid of protein and fat for an extended period of time, it's that still doesn't make sense to me. We need
No,
fat for our brains, for our hormones. We need healthy cholesterol. We need protein to build our bones and our muscles and all of the connective tissue in our body. So I don't see how this could be healthy long term. And I do foresee negative side effects appearing for people who do this for too long.
absolutely. And do you remember that vegan influencer who was on an all fruit diet and she ended up dying recently and it was all over the
Yep.
internet and everything. So I mean, this is just a word of caution to people out there that we are not meant to be living on fruit or even fruit and vegetables permanently. I mean, that's a very,
Right.
very deficient diet and it can definitely lead to dangerous consequences. So if somebody's looking to try this, well, first of all, would you recommend that they get in touch with someone, a health coach like yourself, or someone that can, help guide them through this and give them a meal plan or a proper plan to follow rather than just, okay, from tomorrow I'm only eating fruit and honey?
Yes, I think it's a better idea, especially because right now this is just blowing up on social media
Yeah,
and people are trying it all different ways. There's kind of mixed messages that
yeah,
are being put out there about it. Some camps saying, "Oh, just eat, eat, eat," and others saying, "No, you need to control it." It's confusing.
yeah,
I also, as I said in the beginning, I will never get on board with a candy soda diet.
yeah, I don't
I
blame you.
just, so
Yeah,
yes, it can quote unquote work to lose weight. You can lose weight on anything. You could
yeah,
lose weight eating fast food, but I don't think that that's really the way to go. And so I
yeah,
would encourage people to stick with natural sugars
yes,
because at least you're getting some of those micronutrients. There are things in fruits that help you to digest them and to utilize the nutrients. And
yeah,
I know the plants are trying to kill you camp is going to say, no, 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 all the anti-nutrients. And there are anti-nutrients. We have to think about the oxalates. We have to think about the deuterium that's
yes,
present. I
yes.
think that's another reason to really only experiment with this during the summer when you
Mhm.
have, lots of or high UV index.
Yes.
But yeah,
And you're a health coach, but you still have a health coach when it comes to this, right? You have someone guiding you. So it's really
yes.
important to have someone who has the expertise, who has the experience, and they can help you put the program together. Well,
And I
now,
think it's good to get you out of your own head. That's
yeah,
why I have hired coaches because
yeah,
I get myself confused in my own, like, well, what
yeah,
about this and what about that? And she says this and he says that. And it's nice
yeah,
to have someone to say, okay, let's calm down all that noise and let's
yeah,
just go in this direction.
yeah. That makes so much sense. And now I'm craving a banana. I don't know what you did to me. I haven't had a banana in probably like 10 years, but now I want a banana.
I it's it's mind bending. I'm telling you, Lynn, it's mind bending. This is
I
really
don't know.
strange for us
Like
low
I'm
carbers.
on the fence. Like I want to try it, and I would love to lose a few kilos right now. But I don't know. I mean, it's just so out there. It's so different from anything that we've ever done. And I mean, I used to do like the juice fasts many years ago, like I would do like three weeks of juice fasting, just fruit and vegetable juicing, and I feel like really screwed up my body with that. Like it didn't really do me any good, especially after a while. Once your body gets used to it and you're no longer losing weight and it's just making you sick. So,
Yes.
it's like, could I do this fruit diet? I don't know. I might try it for a couple of days just to see how I feel and see how my
It's,
body
I mean,
reacts to it.
it's an interesting experiment. And as I was saying before, I do think that it's important to break it up with the
Yeah.
protein and some fats in there. Um, but I'm taking one for the team. I'm doing
You
the
are.
experiment.
You're awesome. Miley,
And
thank you so much for coming on again and for sharing your experience with us. I'm going to link your information and everything so people can find you and reach out to you if they would like some health coaching or help with their diet and their circadian health, which is really important. And you're the best guy that I know for that. So
thank you so
we'll make
much.
sure they can find you easily. So thank you so much, Miley, for being here. And
Thank you for having me.
my pleasure. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.